Welcome to AgriBusiness Global Report, a 10-minute show that brings you executives interviewing executives or experts working in the agrochemical, biological, or plant health industries. In this show, Jim DeLisi, president of Fanwood Chemical Incorporated, interviews Terry Kippley, president of the CPDA. They'll discuss drone formulation, adjuvant sourcing, and building international relationships.
Welcome to AgriBusiness Global Report. I'm Jim DeLisi, president of Fanwood Chemical Incorporated. Here today, we're interviewing Terry Kippley, president of CPDA.
Great to be here.
Are your members seeing any interesting opportunities in drone formulations as this technology expands?
Well, we certainly are, and I have to shamelessly put a plug in to our upcoming Adjuvants and Inerts and Crop Protection Conference that's going to be held the last week in April. Before the conference starts, we have what we call Adjuvant University. And for those who want to come just a little bit early to our program, you'll be able to sit in on a half-day seminar. And we have Dr. Stephen Lee with Auburn University. He's going to be talking about drones. He's really an expert in that area. And certainly, when you look at drone use increasing in the United States, there's a very important role for adjuvants. You're using low volume. You have an issue with the setup of the drone itself in terms of foaming issues, compatibility, where adjuvants can really help with the drip deposition and compatibility of pesticide products. So they're very important. It's an emerging opportunity.
Terry, what's your opinion on the adjuvant market in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and the U.S.? Growing, slowing down, or where's it headed?
So it appears that in the U.S., we have a stable market. I think that there's clearly an emerging need for the use of adjuvants. As we talk to our members and we try to ask them what's kind of the market penetration for drift reduction adjuvants, and they say somewhere in the 20% area. So the biggest competitors is the lack of use. I think as there's more and more emphasis on climate smart technology of reducing trips across the field, I think adjuvants will continue to play an important role. As I talk to our members in Latin America, they're telling me that it's a little bit farther behind in the U.S. and that there's more and more interest. And as they work to continue with all the development work that's required to be able to show growers a return on that investment.
Okay, that's all terrific. Let's get off adjuvants a little bit and talk about your experience in sourcing active ingredients. We're now 1 week post the dumping case on 2,4-D, which is having a lot of people agita, trying to figure out how to proceed. Yeah. In your experience, are there any tips or other things that you could offer folks that are trying to work out sourcing issues with active ingredients that you could offer to the audience?
Just a couple things to provide dimension. So in my past commercial life, I spent nearly 20 years working with Chinese and Indian pesticide manufacturers, and I procured about $500 million worth over my time dealing with those factories and more importantly, the factory owners. So when you think about sourcing, and this is all pretty much common sense, but just in all of my years of experience, there's a couple of key things to really keep in mind. And I think number one is when you think about having a sourcing strategy, a common way to go is, well, I want to be dual sourced. I want to be multi-sourced. And Jim, you were actually the one that kind of helped me think about this. If you sit down and you ask yourself, well, if I have a supplier in China and I have a supplier in India, I'm dual sourced. But with the reliance that the global pesticide industry has on China, and if your supplier in India is buying some of those key intermediates from China, are you really truly multi-sourced, right? If everything goes back to China, and there's a lot of geopolitical issues, there's a lot of other people smarter than I am about how to read their crystal ball. But I just think as you think about having a robust supply chain and a strategy, keep that in mind. Something else too that we always talked about it is really fully understanding as a U.S. manufacturer, and if you rely upon offshoring, most of us are, right? Very few products are being made. You're relying upon China and India. Where are you with your marketing strategy and where you want to be in the next 5 years? And have a deep look into your partner offshore. What are their strategic intents and where do you fit longer term? Going back 15 years ago, the market obviously was very different. And so we would ask ourselves, dealing with that supplier, where are they at in terms of their ability to enter foreign markets? Are they content being truly a manufacturer, or do they really see themselves eventually being a marketer? And as you think through those strategic answers to those strategic questions, it's going to help you understand who you want to more closely align with. And then the other thing that really stands out is, like anything, any other relationship, it's about trust and credibility. And what happens with that relationship, contract or not, when things go bad. If there's a supply issue, there's something in the market where product is short, and your supplier is meeting your needs and others. How significantly are you strategically to them? Are you really a partner, or are you more of a transactional purchaser of their products? And do you have the type of relationship to where when you need relief from a financial standpoint, in the post-patent world, volumes move on very narrow margins. And so do you have a relationship where if they have a cost of goods position because the market there is such that they could give a little bit, but are you really able, when the shoe is in the other foot, to give in return? And that always was my definition of a cheap partnership. You can sit in meetings and work with companies. If they're willing to give, you have to be able to give in return. So I think the strategic nature relationships are important. It's easier when you sit down and you're dealing with the owner of the factory. Things have changed a lot to where many companies in China, India have become public, and that owner may or may not be there and really available during the negotiation of your annual procurement needs. And I think you lose something, obviously, when you deal with professional management versus with the owner of the company, or who you're even sitting and dealing with truly has the ability to make short or long-term decisions. So those are things that kind of come to mind in my past nearly 20 years of global procurement experience.